What's up, everybody? Going on? Hi, Profitable Stylist. We are talking about hairsprays. What are they? What do they do? What is their purpose? Are they good? Are they bad? Do we need them? Do we not need them? All things behind hairsprays. Hairsprays are fun and awesome. I personally love them. Use them all the time, every week at the salon. What about you, Bernard?
Well, apparently hairspray is not a product we use in our industry, and it's only a musical, a play, a movie, because, I had heard so many things about hairspray, spray net, some of its origin, some interesting stories. And so I thought, let me do a little research. And when you go on YouTube, hairspray, spray net, it's like everything about documentaries, let's compare this musical to this movie or this musical to the other musical. And I thought that is powerful when a freaking somebody can steal a name like that, because hairspray is a product that we use in this industry, and not enough hairdressers like us have talked enough about it to get any kind of Google traffic on this thing. But the movie and musical or play or whatever you call it, super powerful. So congratulations to them for totally stealing a word and using it for their title name. Impressive. Truly is impressive. But who doesn't use some sort of spray glue? And I hate the word glue. But when you think about it, that's what it's all about. Gluing some hairs together, either kind of softly or firmly, depending on when and where you are. And we work with a lot of older. This is a good thing. Like, I hate to use a name and then say old at the same time, but like Nicholas French, who we worked on stage with a lot. He is an icon in the industry, and he uses some hairspray. And I feel like saying something like hairspray and toilet paper. What do they have in common? Because I know
that. Wait,
you use it, like spraying the hairspray on the toilet paper and smoothing the hair down. But when you get around these older hairdressers, been around a long time, some of the stories they tell, especially when somebody like him, whose father was a hairdresser, and you hear the stories his father told him, so fascinating. And one of them was talking about where hairspray came from, and the original name for hairspray was spray net.
What's spray net? Yeah.
Yeah. And it came out because there was nothing to hold hair. And so in the old days, people were rolling their hair up. There wasn't even hood dryers or blow dryers. They would wrap their hair in these rollers and some kind of gel, because gel's been around for close to 100 years, whereas hairspray has been around just somewhere around 50 or 60 years. I got some dates here. I'll talk about 1940s is about when it was invented. So gel's got 40 years on hairspray. And so they would wrap their hair in gel. Put their hair in gel, wrap it in big rollers, orange juice cans, something, and let it dry overnight. And then the next day, take those cans out or rollers out, tease, style, and then what would hold it in place? A net, an actual net like the lunch ladies wear now. Some of you guys order wigs, hair pieces, hair replacement systems, and they're in that net that is really close to the color of the hair. And you look at it and you think, there's no net on here. And then you go to touch the hair and you're like, oh, there is a net. That's how invisible these nets can be. And that was the original hair net. And then when they came out with the spray, it was a spray net. It made sense. It's like we can spray the net on now like Spider-Man, put one in each hand, and I don't know how to do that. My son does it really well.
He's really good at doing it.
He's 8 years old. Yeah. And so spray that net, and somehow from spray net to hairspray, and then all the names. So I love the history of that. I love the history of the blow dryer and the hood dryer too. But I love the history of it. And then as a hairdresser now for 30 years, good and bad. I hate being old, but I love the knowledge I've gotten from the years. I remember in the beginning thinking, I'm never going to figure this industry out. And then as I figured it out, I was like, how do other people figure it out? Are you showing any of the cans of hairspray yet?
Not yet. I can pull them up when you're ready, when you want to.
Yeah. So this is kind of fun because some of the older hairdressers, don't have to admit it, guys, that are watching us will appreciate this kind of blast to the past, like Aquanet. Are you showing that right now?
I'm
So
should.
Aquanet.
Here we go.
Who?
It should be up on screen now.
So, this is probably not one a lot of hairdressers use. It's probably just bought in the grocery store. Was it ever a professional product? Do you know?
I think it was the only product at that time. Forget about professional.
Possibly so, huh? Yeah, I can't say I know the history of each brand of hairspray, but in the years of doing hair, you hear these names, and it's almost like songs. They bring you back to a memory, and I don't know. Aquanet brings me back to the 80s. Is it before the 80s? I don't even know. You happen to know when it was created?
Yeah, Aquanet got popularized. Well, it became popularized in the 80s because hairspray's from the late 40s, early 50s, right?
Yep.
And then in the 60s, it became a thing, really, really more popularized. In the 70s, it kind of died out because of, everybody, like in the 60s and the 70s, everybody was doing more hippie trends, with the sleek hair and straight hair. Nobody was really doing volume and fullness and stuff like that. Everybody was doing like the glam, remember like finger waves from the Roaring 20s and things like that. All those styles carried on over. In the 80s, when glam rock became a thing, and rock and roll became like heavy metal bands and stuff, the hair bands, that's where Aquanet came in. You needed, how do you guys say it in the South? Higher the hair, closer to God or something?
Yes. Yep. The higher the hair, the closer to God. That's right. The bigger your hair was, the more Christian you are,
The more Christian you were, right? So that's how I remember Aquanet coming in a can that was, I don't know, a meter tall, like 3 feet tall or something.
Yeah. Well, the biggest can of hairspray ever. Say it in the comments. If you can say it in a comment, timestamp before we say it, I will. I don't know what we're gonna give them. Nothing.
We'll figure something out.
Give you, you win. But the biggest can of hairspray I remember in 30 years of me doing hair was Sebastian Shaper Plus. Was that the name of it?
It was the Plus was the bigger one. Yeah.
That sucker. There had to be no other can bigger than the Shaper can.
I don't know of anything bigger than the Shaper Plus cans.
The J.C. Penney styling salon, my first year as a hairdresser, and they had
Shaper,
Sebastian, and I wish we had like a ruler or a hand next to that thing to give it some I don't know, so we'd know how big it was.
It don't even fit in the screen. That's how big it is.
Freaking can. It was so big and lasted so long. But I heard one tutorial. You were mentioning the style changes, and I heard somebody else's perspective, and I don't know if this is true. Everybody's got their perspective, their idea of what might have happened, what they think happened, and it's probably a non-hairdresser that said big hair went away when they had to take the fluorocarbons out of the cans. Mm-hmm. So in the 80s, we were fixing the hair and destroying the environment at the same time. And for a long time after the 80s. But so hairspray became invented in the 40s. By 43, it's the documentary that I copied out off of says that during World War II. All the great stuff always happens during a war, huh?
The military technology and advancement always brings us civilian conveniences of life. It really is amazing.
And I hate to say this part, but hairspray was invented because insecticide, hair can sprays. So we needed to kill bugs more than we needed to fix hair. So when it came out of a can that sprayed for bugs, they're like, we could put that glue in a can for the hair. So apparently it was a pump before. I didn't read it was a pump, but apparently it was in a pump action type of sprayer before. And then Helene Curtis, the company in the 1950s, Helene Curtis became the first to use the generic term hairspray and spread it across the country and the world. So Helene Curtis was kind of given credit for making this thing go big. And then by the 70s, the CFCs and all the other bad stuff was supposedly killing our ozone layer. Nobody's ever really been able to tell, but in an effort to be kind to the earth, countries started to phase it out. And this one girl on YouTube, she was saying that's why the big hair went away. We couldn't glue it that big anymore.
The idea behind that is in the later 90s, in the mid to later 90s, then that's when everybody started freaking out about the ozone and the environment. And what they started doing was, they started taking away the CFCs. They started taking away they started lowering the VOC content in the hairsprays. The issue, what arose, which people didn't realize, was you don't have as much hold. And if you don't have as much hold, then what's the point of using it? And then smoothing became a thing, and then the big hair went away for a while.
Kind of adjusted, right? And I never thought about it like that. I just thought styles change. I didn't become a hairdresser until the very end of the 80s, really kind of going into the 90s. So I just remember liking the hard hole hairsprays. My mom was a hairdresser, and I had the mullet, and I wanted to scrunch that little bit of wave I had in and spray it and hold it, and so it'd be nice and curled in the back and big and wavy on top, and I just liked all that. And then when I became a hairdresser in that first year, maybe 1991, I loved that Sebastian Shaper Hole Plus because it was such a hard hole, gigantic, just it looked like a freaking missile or a spaceship. It was so damn big. But what I found fascinating is the thing that they figured out to propel these polymers and glues and whatever are two things I use to burn fires now. So propane and butane. No wonder we had the rise of the potato gun. I don't know if you're familiar. Potato gun, but you put together some PVC pipes, you put a potato in there, and in the back you spray some WD-40 or hairspray, and then when you click this little clicker that puts a spark in there, boom, and it blows a potato out the end. So, hairspray has been used for a lot of things, good and bad and fun. Show some more cans of hairspray so we can bring some people through history with us and just kind of see if anybody remembers any of these.
Definitely. Let's see. This is a good one to see if anybody remembers. Let me put this up on screen.
Definitely. Vavoom. Yeah. That word too. Vavoom. We should have did a little history lesson on the word. I'm sure it's got a unique past. I don't even know.
It's got experience with Vavoom, it was so strong for its time. We used to have the stations where the lid it would open up, and then you would open up the top of the station. That's where your curling irons would stick into, and your blow dryer and flat iron, stuff like that, right? One of the stylists, she forgot the irons on. You'd plug in your curling irons in the morning and just leave them on all day running, right?
Right.
Threw the can in her station, closed up her station. The thing heated up overnight. And I'm surprised it even lasted that long, because in the morning we all came in, and I don't know the vibration when we stepped on the floor or what set it off. The station explodes. The top of the station flips open. Vavoom! Straight into the ceiling.
Really?
And just a dust cloud of hairspray all day lingering in the salon. I thought it was cool as hell to see it happen, but it was scary as hell to see it happen, Yeah,
that is funny. Go to the next one. That's funny. I never did use Vavoom. I just remember hearing about it.
And then this is a more modern day version. This brand, Got To Be, is a very popular over-the-counter type of hairspray, So these are all kind of, for their time they were good, but these are now store-bought things is what they're considered.
Yeah, and I've never even seen this one before. You can go to the next one. I don't have anything to say about Got To Be.
This
Beautiful
is
can.
A more recognizable one. This is Redken.
Yes.
So now,
I think we have that in the salon right now. That's a newer brand. I'm not behind the chair, so I don't actually use much of anything anymore. When I'm doing an extension training video, I do say, I'll say, give me a can of hairspray. Not too hard, not too soft. I just need some of sometimes the air might be a little dry and I might have a little static or some frizz. and I want it to look good on video. So I'll say, give me a medium hold. And I don't know if this is a medium hold or not. I just know we have Redken in the salon lately.
This is the quick dry. I mean, they have like 10 different versions of it, right?
Yeah.
Big Sexy is is the first brand I started working with.
And that's the one that brings the most people to the booth at the big hair shows before COVID. I swear, when we'd go you hear loud music and a big crowd screaming like it was Mardi Gras in New Orleans. Yep. And I would think, what is going on over there? I'm in Chicago or New York. Why are things flying in the air like beads being thrown from a float? And so they really did a good job at their hair shows where they would have Big Sexy. I mean, the whole brand is called Big Sexy, right?
The whole brand is Big Sexy, and we just used to spray. I mean, we'd go through a case of hairspray, just spraying it in the air just for the sake of it. I'd have glitter on stage, so then you'd have the glitter sparkling in the hairspray. We'd have a blow dryer or a little fan on the bottom of the stage, blowing it up in the air, make sure it still flied around just to make a lot of noise. It was a lot of fun doing stage work with these guys when I was with them.
Yeah.
Man. It was cool. And then when we start learning how to do more finished looks, Aqua, when it first came out, Luis Alvarez is an awesome photographer, and he was one of the founders, if not the founder, behind the Aqua brand. The finishing spray, and then they have also a styling spray, like a medium hold. These two, I mean, when they came on the scene, they blew the market away. It was awesome. They're still good brands. They still work very, very well, you know?
Yeah, and I see that it says finishing. And my first thought was a softer spray, but probably, and then it says ultra firm on there. So I guess finishing means you're done styling. Let's make it stay for a few days. Is that the concept here? Like
that's the concept there, yeah.
Through the party, the night, the dance. This is going to like hold that thing like a helmet for the rest of the night. Let's lock it in.
And that was the thing for its time, was a lot of these hairsprays are designed to be waterproof, you know, because of the contents, because of the high chemical contents and ingredients in these things. They were designed to freeze the hair in place. No humidity is getting there. No moisture is getting in there. No water is getting in there. So, you know, back then we would do roller sets and stuff too, and you'd spray the hell out of the hair, and all week that hair wouldn't move, right? But then you'd bring it back to the shampoo bowl, and you're sitting there trying to rinse it out. Just the water is spraying off the person's head. It's splashing you back in the face. You're like, what is happening, man? You can't break through this. You need a chisel and a hammer to break through that hair. It was great.
What I'm reading here is that in the 70s, countries started to phase out the CFCs. And in 1977, Alberto VO5 hairspray became the first nationally advertised premium brand to introduce aerosol-free CFCs. I thought I'd give them credit since they were first. You know, that's kind of cool. So in Birmingham, England, in 1929, a company called Chemical Works decided to market a product called Brill Cream that was invented in 1928. See, that's where I got my knowledge that gel came before hairspray. I mean, I didn't know. I'm researching hairspray, and they're like, well, everything was done with gel before hairspray in the very beginning of the century. And I'm like, oh, that's very last century, actually. So, yeah, we're getting close to 100 years. What do you have up here now?
You were mentioning about liquid hairsprays, or, you know, they used to come in a pump before. Yep. In the early 2000s was the resurgence of the popularity of liquid hairsprays, the pump hairsprays.
Okay.
And that gave us setting lotions. That gave us the popularity of like witch hazel hairspray was a very popular one. Aveda, the brand Aveda, had a liquid hairspray that was extremely popular for its time, you know. And then a lot of the organic products started coming out, and those guys were all coming out with liquid pump hairsprays as well too. And when we were doing, especially for stage work, spraying a liquid spray and then sizzling the mess out of that hair with a curling iron sounded scary as hell. It was terrible.
But heat dish.
Oh yeah, but it held. That hair held all day. It held all day.
So, are you showing this right now? I
So
don't
now
know
I'm
if
bringing
the
this back up on screen. So the next two brands I want to show is like Carrot Therapy, for example. This is a brand that nowadays what hairsprays are starting to do, and a lot of hairsprays are starting to do, they're starting to go more into maintenance for healthier hair. For they're starting to put conditioner. They're starting to put polymers in there that are more they break
help
down
there.
more water soluble, but they're still humidity resistant. Things like
Mhm.
that.
So I don't think you have a picture of all nutrient.
And then
Yep.
there's
So
an all
that's the one.
nutrient one. I like this one. This is a good modern day hairspray that's strong as hell, but it can still be brushed out when you're ready to wash your hair. The water, it's not going to be bouncing off your head and spraying everybody behind you.
You know what I like about this? I'm reading right on the can. UV protectant. I mean,
Yeah.
why not? If you're trying to protect your color, your hair, most people are trying to protect their skin from or they're trying to get a tan. But if you're trying to make your color last longer, why wouldn't you use a hairspray that has a UV protectant in it? That's a great idea. Obviously, I don't use a hairspray, so it doesn't matter to me. I say that, but if I go to get a massage or go to the gym and I'm out of town and I want to take a shower right after the massage because it's midday and I want to get all the oil off of me. And that's all they have. Like, I didn't bring a product, but I'm in that men's room and they'll have a couple little things there for you to style your hair. I'm surprised sometimes there's no gels or foams or pomades. It's just a little can of hairspray. And I'm like, oh man, I don't really want to put hairspray, but I will spray it in my hand with a little water and then push it through my hair and it'll stay. So I'll use a hairspray, but it's usually not my first choice. But I can see why a girl with longer
You
hair
want a
would.
fun fact?
What? Yeah, cool.
52% of men prefer hairspray over pomades, waxes, and gels these days,
Interesting. I
especially
guess
for
it's
finishing.
easier. I guess it's easier too, huh?
It's well, what happens is, like, I run into this too. I love using pomade personally.
Mhm.
I use gels, but gels gives me more of a spiky, wet look, and then when I brush it out, I
Yeah.
look like a Q-tip, right? I
Hmm.
like using pomades because it looks like I've run my hands through my hair. It kind of holds it in place, but it doesn't give it that wet look per se.
Right.
But then that's the problem with pomade is halfway through the day, by the time I'm scratching my head thinking about stuff and doing things and not thinking, again, I go back to looking like a Q-tip. So a little bit of hairspray afterwards holds all of that in place. So even if I do go ahead and touch my head, it doesn't separate and come back together and just become a whole big hot ball.
So you're talking about a little hairspray in the morning or throughout the day?
A little hairspray in the morning.
Okay, that's
Yeah.
interesting. So I don't think you have my favorite hairspray of all time. I did love that Shaper Plus, but the one that was my favorite all-time hairspray, and it has a lot to do with the school I went to and the product they had, and then what we used at the time. Freeze and Shine. Paul Mitchell. Paul Mitchell put out a hairspray called Freeze and Shine. Do you have that one on the list? You're gonna look it up.
Keep talking,
Freeze and
keep talking.
It was a pump hairspray, and if I'm not mistaken, I hate to get this wrong, smelled like watermelon. Freeze and Shine. I would be Freeze and Shine Super Spray. I wonder if it says the fragrance. Yeah, fragrance. I was gonna say the flavor. I've never tasted it.
Does that look
I mean,
like right?
Yeah, well, that's it. That's even a newer bottle. But back in the day, I don't know if it ever would have said what it smells like. But I was kind of joking saying I didn't taste it, but you all taste hairspray whether we like it or not.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it's in there, you're like, yeah, doesn't taste nearly like it smells. But Freeze and Shine, it was probably like right on time with like, oh, they're taking out the CFCs. Let's move to pump. That's a fast and easy answer before we go. And a pump could deliver just a lot more product, a thicker, it's not going to be as fine of a mist, obviously, but they did a pretty good job getting a pretty fine mist in a pump. And that was my favorite ever. And if I remember right, in its heyday, when it was first out, it was for a short time or maybe a long time, I don't even know, the number one hairspray in the world for a while.
So this is my favorite pump, is the Kiwi Freeze.
Kiwi Freeze by All Nutrients.
Smells like kiwis. I feel like Willy Wonka
Wow,
when I'm talking to the clientele. The
I
kiwis
love
freeze smells like
kiwis.
kiwis. The raspberry smells like raspberries.
Oh, that makes it easy, right?
Oh
Because Freeze
man,
John smells like watermelon. But I mean, kiwi, that's the best tasting fruit there is. I bet you that's I see. If
that's
I
your
was doing
favorite
hair
one. You like
now,
that one?
I'd have to try this one because I like kiwi. It even looks a little like a kiwi, huh?
It builds up, but it's a firm hold, so you don't need a
Yeah,
lot of it.
yeah.
But it's workable too simultaneously. So you spray a little bit, you work it through, you set your look in place, you spray a couple of more pumps over it again, and then it just locks it in, and I like it.
And so that's kind of what I think about with hairspray. Like when I'm teaching new hairdressers in the salon about styling products, like look, I put my hands through my hair all day long, and it doesn't look any different. That was one of the things that helped me. And I mean, I think every brand's got products like this, but there was a time when Paul Mitchell started to. There was a Paul Mitchell school near me. All the students that graduated, I'd hire all Paul Mitchell students. They only knew Paul Mitchell products. So I dove pretty deep into Paul Mitchell for a while there and even became an educator with him. And I know it's a kind of cultural thing around the country, and some places it wasn't a big product line. Like some things, like All Nutrient hasn't really made it down south just yet. We don't see a lot of it. But the thing that Paul Mitchell did that kind of it was almost like a paradigm shift for me to understand products a little bit better. Those little hockey puck looking containers that almost every pomade and wax
Oh
comes
yeah,
in.
okay.
So they had for their men's line, they had, and I don't remember I mean, I know I use Reformer, but I don't remember the name of all three, but there's like a white label, a red label, and a yellow label. And basically what they were three different finish looks. Basically it was the white label was a gloss. I think it's called Barber's Classic actually. And then they had more of I don't remember what the middle one was, but I guess kind of mixed. But then maybe matte, a matte finish and a flat. So it was a flat, a matte, and a gloss. And I thought, that helps guys understand. And I was able to help new stylists understand that look at the age of the client. Not 100% of the time, but the older men are going to like a glossier because when they're a little older than me, like that's what they came out of. They literally used motor oil and Brill cream and Vaseline in their hair, and it was a greasy look. But that's where the word grease came from. And they would slick their hair back with a greasy looking, very wet. Like you said, you didn't necessarily want that wet looking, crispy look. But that's all there was at one time. And then when we went to gels and hairsprays, it was a similar look, but it was hard. And so then from there, we started to want to look less shiny, and we went total opposite to flat and then somewhere in the middle. So you kind of have to look at the age of the client, look at the sheen of their hair to decide what they want, and start to realize it's not all about glue and it's solid anymore. There's some workable, movable, pliable products. And that's when it got interesting, but more confusing because now trying to explain, I mean, before it was like movable or not. That was your choices. It's going to move or it was not. Now it's like, how much do you want it to move? And then I remember when Paul Mitchell was talking about curly hair. Now my wife has curly hair, so it's always been a struggle for her. You put gel or mousse or foam in it, it dries crispy curlies and it defines some curls, and then that's how you stay all day. And you try not to put your hands through your hair because you're going to look, like you said, a Q-tip. It's going to start to look fuzzier and fuzzier whenever hair stands alone. So when Paul Mitchell first came out with some products for curly hair that didn't dry hard, that was mind-blowing to me. That's when I started to realize there's that in between. There's a lot of stuff in between, soft and hard. There was a lot of pliable, movable waxes, pomades, and then even the hairspray started to try to move in to this market. And I think it's a lot of fun, but a lot more to navigate.
Well, there is now gels are starting to come in spray gel form. And that actually is a kind of a way of using it in place of a hairspray as well, too, where the more you pump that, it's in a spritz bottle. So the more you pump of it, the harder the hold builds up more and more and more. Yeah. The other thing I learned, you mentioned Nicholas French earlier. So one of the things I learned when I mentored with him he mentored me, whichever the right way is to say it.
He mentored you. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, was how close versus how far away to hold the can when you spray it. So in the beginning, I never, I was younger back then and I didn't know much of anything. So I thought if you hold it closer, it's just the pressure is going to spray harder and that's going to make it hold better.
Right.
And he had said, yeah, if you're trying to light somebody's hair on fire, go ahead and do that. So, and I didn't understand at the time. Well, at the time, it was coming out so wet and you were getting all the blast of the butane and you were getting all the blast of the aerosol, the alcohol and stuff. You weren't getting a chance for it to breathe and the polymers to actually stick onto the hair and let the hairspray actually do what it's supposed to do. And then you'd be spraying it at the scalp thinking, oh, that's where I want the most hold. It would actually be wetting all that volume that it created and the whole hairstyle would collapse.
It would just fall before the solvent evaporated.
Before the solvent evaporated.
Yeah.
So,
and then glue it in place in the wrong place.
Right. And when the madams would smoke their cigarette, and then I don't know, somehow it always happened. The cigarette would get too close. It would cause a flash burn. They'd be angry. I'd be in trouble. It was a hot mess. How far away are you supposed to hold hairspray when you spray it?
Am I supposed to answer this question?
Yes, sir.
I'm going to say 4 to 6 inches.
Okay. Now, is that hairdresser 4 to 6 inches, or is that like?
If you're on stage, you're supposed to hold it 2 feet away and do circles, crop circles, right. And fill the air because everybody looks better in a fog, I guess it depends on what you want to do. I don't know the right answer. I think you start to, like you said, learn what works best for you and depending on what you want and what you're using. But is there a right answer for this?
They used to say 12 inches away from the scalp. I don't know what it is nowadays anymore, but that seems to make the most sense to me. You're giving enough space for the initial blast to propel the spray, the polymers.
You can get it on their shoulders, chest, and back too, huh? This is why you need a cape. And maybe
it holds everything together then,
Remember the face shield? You ever use that?
I didn't used to use the face shield. I just used to put my hand and then just spray around, and we just do one of these. And then the back of your hand and your watch was all sprayed up and you couldn't see a thing,
Right. So I was getting ready to talk about that. That's some of the bad. I think we probably should end this before we go too negative. But hairspray, there was a lot of cleanup after hairspray. The back of the chair, the floor around the chair, your watch. Maybe, thank God I didn't wear glasses back then, because I'd be having to clean off my glasses. But the clients, good or bad, some people were covering their face. But did you ever see, I remember seeing some girls in the early days, after they applied all their makeup, they sprayed their face with hairspray to lock their makeup in. I think that was the original waterproof makeup. And I always thought that was, I could not spray hairspray on my face. I thought, what a great idea if it works, but no, that's a hard pass for me. I am not putting hairspray on my face. I didn't wear makeup, so it didn't matter. But thank God I wasn't a girl. I couldn't have done it.
Well, when you got those watermelon flavor and kiwi flavor ones, then maybe it's a thing. You don't know.
Yeah.
Could you imagine doing?
I have nothing else to say about hairspray other than thank God it was invented because we definitely needed it. Made us a lot of money.
Hairspray is awesome. What I will say is this. Like I said earlier, there's a huge market. There's a huge men's market out there that we think hairspray is synonymous with women's hair because we think of updos, we think of up styles, or we just think of teasing and volume, right? Or we think of the weekly sets that we do. There is such an untapped potential in there in the men's market. There is also an untapped potential in the younger market as well, too, for women. Why? Smoothing treatments are still really popular these days. Hair extensions are super popular these days, right?
Yeah.
A little bit. I'm not saying go crazy. All I'm saying is a little bit of hairspray mid-shaft to ends. You don't necessarily have to put it at the scalp. Mid-shaft to ends. it'll help a little bit with the friction that's created when women have hair longer than their collarbone and you know, mid back, mid breast, mid whatever length.
Right.
It helps hold it together a little bit easier. So it actually will prevent against some tangling. It's not going to stop tangling.
And some humidity.
And it definitely helps against the humidity, especially in crazy environments where like down by you have a lot of humidity, you know?
Yeah, they some days we have more than 100%. And to me, you would think it would be raining, but it'll say 102% humidity. I don't really get what the top of the scale is. I mean, when you're underwater, you would think that would be 100%.
Yeah, right.
But somehow we can still breathe, and they say we have over 100% humidity. I don't get it. Yeah, so hairspray, definitely. Till this day, we have hairspray in the closet, in the bathroom, at home. And you know, I'm one of the worst as far as I don't know why or what we have in the closet. It's up to my wife. You know, we've got store-bought, unprofessional brands because you're out on a trip or you're somewhere and her or the kid needs the hair fix, and she just grabs something from a drugstore. It ends up in the luggage. It comes home with us. We've got stuff from the salon. So we've got hairspray from great to terrible, and we just use it all in a pinch. You know, use the good stuff first, you run out, you use the bad stuff till you buy some more good stuff. And so, I mean, I've used it all, and I prefer different types of pomades and creams for me and my son's hair in the morning. But when we run out, we go to hairspray. So,
I like the good stuff. Hairspray is worth it. It's really, really good stuff. The bad hairsprays, it's good for killing spiders. You ever see that arachnophobia movie?
Flies. I've seen hairdressers in the salon looking around like Mr. Miyagi, you know, and then all of a sudden, and they're like, I got him. And that fly starts flapping its wings slower and slower.
All right, now we're going to start getting goofy. That's all I got too. All right, everybody. Hey, share with us what you guys use your hairspray for. 101 different uses of hairspray.
Other than hair. Bye, guys.
Let's catch you all next.